Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SMU Guildhall's live stream of the Final Fantasy 15 Uncovered event. My name is Max Krems.
Right, I'm Michell Massey.
And we are here as representatives of SMU Guildhall in Dallas, Plano, Texas.
Right. Yeah, Plano, Texas, north of Dallas. We're at SMU Guildhall, a game development master's program, technically masters in interactive technology. We're both producers in our second semester, and we're really happy to be here.
We are indeed. And we are here to... We should mute that.
Right, yeah, probably so. We're both producers in our second semester.
Sorry.
We're really happy to be here.
We are indeed.
Sweet.
Awesome. So we are here tonight to celebrate the Uncovered event with Final Fantasy 15, and in particular to support a couple of our faculty members who are at the event live.
Right. Yeah, we have an art faculty and another administrative faculty. The art faculty is Nick Heitzman, and he is not only one of the art professors here, he's also the cohort coordinator for the cohort. So anytime students have problems, they can talk to him about that stuff with their classes and their personal development. And also the current director of our program, Gary Brubaker, is at the event, so we're cheering them on and wishing them well, and also helping Guildhall show our excitement for the program in general. So
yes, indeed. And of course, to express our excitement over Final Fantasy 15 and the conclusion of this incredibly long road that this game has had to get to this point.
Yeah.
I am a fairly large Final Fantasy fan, and I think I might know a little bit more about it than you, Mitchell.
Right. Yeah, you probably do, except I do remember whenever we were first put on the Facebook group for our cohorts joining the program, I had just started playing Final Fantasy 14 because I heard about the Heavensward expansion, and I remember reaching out and being like, hey, does anybody else play this game, because I want somebody to join me, and you were the only person who really responded, but unfortunately we were on different servers, so we never got to hang out. I did hang out with my friend Taylor Gallagher, who's my roommate now. But we should try to change that.
Yes, we can transfer worlds and actually join together.
Yeah, once we have more free time.
Yes, Guildhall, for those of you who are interested in a master's program, Guildhall is a very intense master's program. We have very little time to do much other than game development, which is...
Well, to frame that, we have 4 classes a semester, and one of those classes is just team game development. So over the course of your Guildhall career, you'll do 3 game projects and a master's thesis. And so, for instance, both of us are in our second game project doing first-person shooters that are Capture the Flag. They're both networked, multiplayer. So it's a pretty cool program because you get real studio experience. And
by the time you graduate, you will have created no less than 3 games. Our first game that we created in our first semester was a tablet game built for the Google Nexus 7. Then we have our first-person shooter Capture the Flag games, which are much more structured and deliberate, and they put us in larger teams each time. And then we round it off with Capstone, where we are given as much freedom as we want and as much rope to hang ourselves.
They don't tell us what to build, and Guildhall is great for people who know they want to be in a studio environment because you get real on-the-job training. We have faculty that's very supportive of our projects and guide us along the way. And our cohort has like 36 people now, right? Yep. So we're a very big class, and we have some phenomenal artists, programmers. As producers, we kind of just help shepherd them and make sure that their project's on track. We do a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff to make problems disappear before they happen.
We talk a lot, like we're doing now.
Yeah, we get to be the face of the team, which we like.
Yes.
But so we mentioned our professors, and we mentioned kind of what Guildhall is. As we mentioned, there are 3 games going on at any time, and also thesis students. So there are 4 TGP2 games, first-person shooter games. We don't have any TGP1 games, right? Because
not right now.
We have a new cohort coming in the fall, and they'll start doing mobile games in Unity. So we just finished our Unity games in the fall. So right now we have 2 games going on at the Guildhall. What is the capstone game? Do you know?
I actually don't know much about the capstone game because a lot of times we tap on other students to do play testing and receive fresh feedback from eyes who may not be familiar with the development
both of the
process.
games are still starting to do usability testing in the next couple weeks. So we're still figuring out exactly all the details on that stuff. So we have 25 minutes till the live event starts, right? And we wanted to share with our users a little bit about what we're excited about this program, about this Uncovered event, and we wanted to start with a little bit of Final Fantasy 15 history because it has kind of a long, complicated background.
Yes,
Max
it does.
Prim's kind of our resident expert on Square Enix, so he's going to be able to say a lot more than I can, but Max, tell us about the beginning of this project. Like, where did this game come from? What is it?
So, longtime fans of Final Fantasy in general may be familiar with the Fabula Nova Chrysalis realm. And that is the world of Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13-2, and Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns. The last big Final Fantasy that came out that wasn't the massive multiplayer online game for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, etc. Originally, Final Fantasy 15 was conceived as Final Fantasy Versus 13, so it was a spin-off set in the same world, but envisioned as its own game, inspired by and tangentially related to, but not necessarily directly connected to the Final Fantasy 13 series. Over time, it was announced at E3 in 2003, I believe. I think it's been 10 years. No, it's been 10 years in development. I am wrong, so it would be 2006. 2006, 2007. I apologize if I'm wrong about that again. I'm doing this from memory.
What other Square Enix games were going on at that time? That's like when Final Fantasy 7 started hitting?
No, that's...
Or Final
that's
Fantasy
way ago.
11?
Nope, that's still way ago.
Okay, the MMO. What's the MMO that was going on then?
Final Fantasy Versus 13 was announced at the same time as Final Fantasy 13 came out.
Okay.
So that was a little while ago. Final Fantasy 7 is actually a PS1 game from way back in the day. And it's actually getting a remaster.
It's a lot of numbers to keep up with.
It is. It is. Longtime fans of the series will have a little easier time keeping track of what the difference is between 7, 8, 9, 10, 10-2, all those kinds of things.
Well, that brings us to an interesting point because Square Enix has an interesting development model where they have several games going on at once. So
They do.
In the industry, you're not just working on one game, you have multiple teams kind of doing things because they're supporting multiple platforms now, right? I mean, they're doing a little bit of mobile stuff, they have PC specific stuff, and they're branching out into even some narrative focused games, right? Like Life is Strange.
They might be publishing them. I am not sure of...
Okay, they're just a publisher.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how much development they're doing.
Yeah,
but they actually have
they
actually have a wonderful program. The name is escaping me right now, but they have a wonderful program sort of akin to Steam Greenlight, where developers can submit ideas and then one of several ideas is put up onto this platform for potential users to vote for, and the winner gets funding from Square Enix, funding and support. And I know a couple of really interesting projects have come out of that, of various styles. It's been a while since I've looked at it because Guildhall is a lot of time, but
when you make games, you don't have a lot of time to play games.
But it's so much fun.
I know. Yeah, it's great. So going back, we talked about how Square Enix has a different development model. So you said that Final 13 and Versus 13 were in development at the same time. What happened? What was the resolution of that?
Well, basically, as game developers in the audience might know, and I'm sure we know, games change form from the time that you begin development to the time you actually start working on it, to the time you get to vertical slice, etc., all the way through release.
Sure.
So what happened with Versus 13 is the original director, who was Nomura, the original director of the Kingdom Hearts series.
Okay.
He worked on this world and built it with his team, and the story just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually the question came about of whether or not the game was really tied to the 13 name.
Yeah, they kind of had to question whether it wasn't worth it to just split it off to a new project, right?
Exactly. And so what ended up happening, Square Enix saw the development of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One coming down the road, and spurred on by that, Versus 13 was originally slated to be a PlayStation 3 exclusive. And in light of these new console releases, and in light of the fact that the game had been in development for many, many years, Square decided that the better option would be to rebrand the game and create a new numerical installment, a full 15 after Final Fantasy 14.
And we both played Final Fantasy 14, and
yes,
we had a lot of fun with that. It's a cool MMO. What did you think was unique about 14 and kind of Square Enix's direction to that, away from their previous games? Like, because this is the first like huge game we've seen since Heavensward, right? Like the first big expansion.
Yeah.
So what do you see as their like the direction since before 14? Like, how are 14 and 15 related?
14 and 15 are related in a few different ways. There's a lot of similarities that you can see amongst the various Final Fantasy games. They all draw on a lot of common mythology. They draw on a lot of common concepts. The active time battle system is something that has been around, I believe, since Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, well, their art style is very distinctive too, right? I mean,
a lot of times they are.
Yeah,
a lot of times they are. There's a lot of similarities, especially if the still going, right? Okay. There are a lot of similarities whenever there is a common universe for games. So the Fabula Nova Chrysalis universe from Final Fantasy 13 and the former universe of Final Fantasy 15 is not the first time that Square Enix has transcended numerical titles with a single set of universal principles.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 12, which came out for the PlayStation 2 many years ago, back in that generation, was set in the Ivalice universe, which is the same universe from Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and that whole series of tactical games.
Yeah. Well, I had asked you this question earlier today about Kingdom Hearts, because you had said that, you know, some of the more Final Fantasy-like characters were from another Final Fantasy universe, right?
In Kingdom Hearts?
In Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
Yeah, some of those characters from another universe. So it brings up an interesting point that they do have these multiple universes, but there are themes that kind of tie them all together.
There definitely are. And those themes are artistic, those themes are character-driven, those themes are often mythological. I know that the idea of Shiva, the idea of Ramu, the idea of Ifrit, those summons have been in existence across a whole bunch of different Final Fantasy entries. As players of Final Fantasy XIV, perhaps you got to beat Ifrit, the Lord of the Inferno, in combat. Maybe you didn't get that far.
Yeah. I'm still, I was part of a free company for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And so I was getting excited about like trying to like do my own like flower bed and participate in building an airship.
Right.
Actually, so I played a thaumaturge, and I had just gotten past becoming a black mage.
Oh.
And so I was like level 35-ish.
So you got to level 35 and you didn't beat the level 20 boss fight.
Well, you know, it's such a deep mythology, so many universes, like it's a little bit hard to keep all the names in your head all the time.
All the names and all of the different challenges. MMOs are big. They have got a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
But actually, that's a good point. The Final Fantasy 15 has a very fascinating history, just with the sheer amount of time that it has been in development.
Yeah.
They are on their second director. Hijime Tabata is now the director of Final Fantasy 15.
Well, he brought his whole team. Like, he was pulled away from another project, right?
He finished Final Fantasy Type 0.
Okay.
Yes, Type 0 was a game that was originally made for the PlayStation Portable, PSP, released only in Japan, and Square decided that what they wanted to do was remaster the game and release it on PlayStation 4. And so that's how you get Final Fantasy Type 0. Yeah. After Tabata finished that project, he came to do kind of double duty with Nomura on Final Fantasy 15, and then when Kingdom Hearts 3's development started rolling into high gear, then Nomura went and worked on Kingdom Hearts 3, and Tabata took over full-time on 15.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you mentioned the PlayStation 4, which I think is interesting because there's an article that came out talking about this history, and they mentioned that at the time they were deciding whether or not to pull this game into its own individual project, that actually the release of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One actually had a helping hand in the developer's decision, right? Like, because of this new platform, they decided, you know, it's worth it. Let's have this be its own thing.
Definitely. Since its prior iteration was as a PlayStation 3 exclusive, it was a very different thing to. Why would you release a PlayStation 3 exclusive so late in the console's life cycle? The PlayStation 4 has been out for a couple of years already. So, with the addition of the PlayStation 4,
it's weird to think of it as old, right? Like, the PlayStation 4 isn't supposed to be old. It's still very new.
Well, it's weird for me to call the PlayStation 3 old. I guess that's
I still have mine. I still play it.
So do I. But yeah, so there's a fascinating history behind Final Fantasy 15, and really a lot of Square Enix games have very fascinating development histories. Actually, Final Fantasy 14 is one of my favorite development stories.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
This is a whole other conversation.
But the long story short is that the original version of Final Fantasy 14 that came out in 2010 was not quite up to par with what Square Enix in general believes is a successful product, and consumers tended to agree. And so as a result, Square Enix decided to bring in new leadership, Naoki Yoshida, and he worked to regain the trust of the community and really actually caused a bit of a social revolution at Square Enix, to my understanding. He built bridges to the community through the use of live updates and the use of an open forum system and common letters to the community. All of which were integral to building that trust in the community, and which can actually be seen in the way that Final Fantasy 15's developers have been working with their community.
Well, following up on...
we have...
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks.
We appreciate it. Okay. So going back... What's interesting about that whole story for me for Final Fantasy 14 is it's even built into the name. Like, you have Final Fantasy 14 Reborn.
A Realm Reborn.
A Realm Reborn, yeah. So it really is a new world that he inspired, and he's very influential at that company now, I would imagine.
I believe so. He has a wonderful talk on GDC Vault, if any of our viewers have access to GDC Vault, where he explains the process that he went through to revise Final Fantasy 14 from its 1.0 to its 2.0 that came out in 2013.
Okay. Yeah. So let's we have 12 minutes. And
12 minutes.
Right,
12 more minutes.
Right. Yeah. So we have some more stuff to cover. Going back, let's talk about what, if you could, in a few sentences, describe what Final Fantasy 15 is. Like, what are your perceptions of it, right? I mean, there's cars, but there's also swords, and there's like 4 dudes. Like, what's going on in this game? I mean, that's why we're at the launch party, right? We're excited we're excited to see what new stuff they have and to hear the date for this event. So, what do you know about the game so far?
I know a fair bit about the game. I would like to think. Okay. But I think I'm just excited.
You know more than me.
Probably, I guess. I think what I'm excited about more than anything else is that it just feels like a very open experience, in contrast to a lot of the other single-player Final Fantasy games that have come out in recent past. It feels a lot closer to Final Fantasy 12, which is a very open-world experience. You go from large open fields to large open fields, and you can chart your own path. In contrast to Final Fantasy 13, and where it's a more linear experience. It's more about seeing the experience exactly as the developers intend. And personally, I am a big fan of the open world experiences. I had a chance to play, I believe the way you say it is Episode du Sky. There was a large demo that came out with Final Fantasy Type 0.
Yeah. Was that part of like a pre-order? Like, if you pre-ordered the game, then you also got that as an extra?
Or bought it on the first day.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It was essentially a vertical slice of Final Fantasy 15. It featured a single large open area, all 4 party members, and it proved to be a very useful tool for the developers in that it solicited feedback from hundreds of thousands of people who all got to play it.
Yeah.
And they opened up questionnaires, they invited feedback, and I read a couple of interesting articles around that time of different responses from different regions to the way that the game was looking. And certain regions cared a lot more about the way that the characters interacted with each other. Certain regions cared a lot more about the battle system. And so through getting a global perspective, which is vital for a global release like Final Fantasy 15, they were able to gather a lot of really good feedback and make some changes before it was too late in the development process.
Yeah, we know how dangerous it can be to add in a battle system like as an afterthought. Like we read about that somewhere.
Yes.
No names.
Nope.
So let's talk about the question that everybody's been dying to know. Is there going to be VR integration with Final Fantasy 15? Because I heard that was a thing.
I have not read that article. I would love to see that article.
I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm sure. So I do know that some of the platforms are supporting normal PC games.
Yes.
So not going to go too down in this rabbit hole, but
Mitchell is a very
VR,
large fan of VR.
VR enthusiast. There are some platforms you will be able to play this game, because it's going to be on PC. So you should be able to play it in a flat perspective, not 360 perspective. But you know what? Square Enix, I'm excited. Like, I am really excited about this game.
Good.
So, what else do we have to talk about, Max? We have 9 minutes. Do we want to segue out? Somebody. Oh, hey, look, we got a message from TJ. What's up, TJ?
That's TJ?
Yeah. Vogue. TJ, he was the game designer on my last mobile game, and he's currently doing his visual novel, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
He was at GDC. I ran into him at GDC, and
He's
it's going good,
Twitch
man.
Feed. Yeah,
going
we
good.
got a little delay here. But.
Yes. But yeah.
Hey, TJ, put up a link to your visual novel.
Yes. How many viewers do we have? 8 viewers.
We have 8 total viewers.
I wonder how many of them are in this room.
Yeah, viewers, talk to us. We need to continue this session for like 8 more minutes.
Yes,
so
give us words to talk about. We'd love to get some feedback. Yeah.
All right. Well, TJ. Deleted link. Lol.
Awesome. Thank you for the
Thanks,
shout
TJ.
out.
We appreciate it.
But yeah. So what Final Fantasy games have you played?
Final Fantasy 14.
Yep.
And I did download a mobile app. Oh wait.
That's
Yeah. God bless. Yay. But do you want to say hi? Say hello to the audience. Hello to the audience.
Hello to the audience. Yes.
Sorry, Harry Potter Puppet Pals. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's
my favorite Final Fantasy game?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Good job, Sarah.
My favorite Final Fantasy game is probably a tie between Final Fantasy 14
Really?
and Final Fantasy 12.
Awesome.
Again, because of the open world thing that I was talking about, and 12 just has such a brilliant art style.
Yeah.
It's very distinct, even amongst the Final Fantasies, which all share a lot of common elements. It's it's distinct, and it doesn't stick to summons the same way that a lot of the other Final Fantasies do.
Wait, so I have a question then.
Yeah.
Something that we learned very early on at Guildhall is about the Bartle types.
Yeah.
And so what's cool about Square Enix games is they tend to develop these games for a lot of different player behaviors, right?
Definitely.
Because you have a mean to level up and have achievements and really show your individual skills, right?
Yeah.
So you cover your achiever types, but then killer types can get really engrossed in like the
monster hunting.
Yeah, monster hunting, the combat system, but then you also have the explorers who just want to check out the awesome art. And what's the other type, Max?
That would be Socializer.
Socializer.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a little bit of social stuff.
There's a lot more social stuff in an MMO like Final Fantasy
Yeah.
14 than perhaps those in Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, because they're calling this a JRPG.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yes, that is a Japanese role-playing game.
Okay, so the J just means Japanese.
Yes,
Okay.
and that is a distinct kind of style in contrast to a more Western RPG like Fallout or Skyrim.
Okay.
And
Is it because of like turn-based things? Is it because of a HUD style? Like what makes it?
My understanding is it really ties back into the regions from the developers, where they're from, as well as the styles that those developers tend to favor. So when you
it's
think
more
of
anime style, right? Or
not
like
necessarily.
anime inspired.
Think more game mechanics.
Okay.
So games like Final Fantasy, games like Grandia, they. There's someone talking to us. That's why we're.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Max,
So,
can you rephrase
yes,
that for our viewers?
Yeah. So to rephrase, that was Alex Baird. He is one of our programmers here at Guildhall. If he backs up a little bit, he can wave at the camera. Yay! There's Alex.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. We appreciate it.
He gave us a very much better definition of JRPG and Western RPG than I could, and it is. JRPG focuses a lot on teamwork and people working together to accomplish a common goal, whereas Western RPGs are much more about the individual. So there's a collective element and there's an individual element. The individual elements of Western RPGs, often they're more blank slate characters. Think like Commander Shepard or the Dragonborn, things like that.
5 minutes away from showtime.
Hey, so
Apparently there are 5 minutes
till showtime.
until the event begins.
Yeah, so for everybody that's listening, we're going to post the link to the Square Enix event, 'cause that's what we're going to be watching.
Yep. And we will have a exciting view on our stream of us watching their stream.
Yeah, it's going to be very meta.
Yes.
But-
We haven't figured out how to embed their stream within our stream.
Right, yeah. I think that's... Yeah, we don't have Flash.
Nope,
on
nope.
Twitch broadcasters. So. Yeah, we'll be sending them feedback. So...
Anything else you want to talk about, Mitchell?
Right, yeah, hey, Soraya, come join us up here.
What?
No,
If you wanna-
the
if you wanna
video-
embed
the
it.
video has to have Flash. We don't have Flash, like I can pull up YouTube, but the video won't play because of Flash.
But a website should be able to.
Like the website loads, but the video won't play without Flash.
When you embed the video, it says it wants Flash in order to run. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, those are our technical issues that we get to deal with.
So we're going to transition now to the audience view of the stream, and so feel free to watch along with us, and we'll be tuning in every once in a while for some cool updates that we think are interesting. So go ahead and pull up a second window and enjoy the stream with us.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Thank you, everyone.
Right, yeah. Thanks, Max, for sharing your thoughts on Square Enix.
Thank you, Mitchell,
really
for
insightful.
organizing this event, and thank you, Guildhall, for letting us geek out after hours.
Yeah, thank you.
On a Wednesday.
Right, yeah. Thank you for Soraya for helping us. Me Mao.
Yeah, and the candy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also thanks to Renee for getting us the login details and helping make this event a success. Thanks to Andrea and Adam, and thank you to Heitzman for inviting us to do this, and thank you to everybody else.
Yep,
So,
and Heitzman and Brubaker, we can't wait to hear all about it
right,
when
yeah,
we get back.
We're really excited.
Yes.
So, Twitter, chat us or whatever, message us.
Yes.
Tweet us. That's the word. Yeah.
Yes,
Tweet us.
there is an SMU Twitter, which I think might be on our...
Right. Yeah. Tweet us if you have any ideas.
Oh, hey! Hey!
Yeah, there they are.
Our professors were just on the stream.
Yeah, we
so-
just saw Brubaker and Heitzman.
Yes, hi
So,
Brubaker and Heitzman.
Yeah, I
Yes.
hope that they're excited about this stuff. All right. Well, enjoy the view, guys. We're switching
Thank you.
over. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's a little squish.
Hey, mute the...